Went to church again today, and I guess it was a fairly popular church because when they passed the basket for money, it was pretty full of cash. And it got me to thinking about churches and money. And then I saw a quote today that said, if you extort money from people with threats of violence, you can be arrested. If you extort people for money with threats of eternal damnation, it's tax deductible. And that's really true. I mean, churches ask for a lot of money. When I was in college, I worked in a theater, or for a theater, I should say. And occasionally we would have church groups come through to rent out the church for their big jamborees. And lots of kids. And they would tell all the adults that 10% of your income goes to the church, flat out. And they would tell the children, 10% of your allowance goes to the church, flat out, with no sense of irony or anything. Just that was the way it is. Heard Cara Santa Marie a little while back, and she was talking about growing up Mormon, and that was one of the things in practice was when they have a piggy bank, they had an actual slot, 10% slot for the church, and that was just the accepted thing. I remember sort of my grandmother, visiting her when she was before she lost her mind, but she was still going to church, and the church actually would send her envelopes if she failed to put money in, to remind her that she'd forgotten to put money in because she's old and she has to remember to put the money in the envelope because that's what churches are for, collecting money. Anyways, that's my little spiel on church money, that churches are pretty insistent that you give them money. And 10% seems to be the going rate for salvation. I wonder if that's always been the case. God, 10% will get you in. Anyways, I'm Tom, your friendly neighborhood atheist, and try not to give too much money to the church. I think they have enough already. Okay, so I know what you're thinking. Why the hell are you going to church? Well, I go to church for a couple reasons, and I've mentioned these before. I like to go every so often to remind myself of why I don't go to church and just to see what the lunacy is that's going on there. But also, I want my daughter to go to church. Now, where we live, we have literally hundreds of churches or houses of worship or religious institutions within like a couple miles of where we live. We cannot get out of our neighborhood without passing at least one church. We go a mile away, we pass a dozen. No matter what direction, what street, no matter where we go, we're going to pass a lot of churches. And it's kind of a joke. We would say, house of God, that's where God lives. That's God's house. But I want my daughter to understand what religion is, so we go to church every so often. And we'll go to different kinds of churches. Part of my family's Jewish, so we got that going. But I go to remind myself of why I think religion is so ridiculous. And it's not so much the religion as it is the belief in God and the excuses that are used to believe in God and how God is used to control people. Yes, God is used to control people. And the money issue is a big thing. Now, when I was sitting there and they were passing the basket, and there was a lot of money in there. I mean, and I'm thinking, these are not rich people. Why are they coming every week and dumping money in the basket? What are they getting out of it? The show? I mean, personally, I didn't really appreciate the show. Really told me nothing, and it was really kind of depressing and like. But I hear all the time stories that outrage me when it comes to church and money. My neighbor was commenting the other day that the church he goes to has having a raffle, and I forget but it's like a $200 prize, and he's saying how he could really use the money, but he's got to give the $20 to the church for tithings. And I'm thinking, it's a raffle by the church. They're making a raffle to make money, so they're getting their cut, and you assume that they're expecting another cut on top of that for your winnings? And he's a friend of mine, so I don't want to say you're an idiot, but you're an idiot. Why are you giving the money to the church? Especially when you're already thinking, I need more money. And then you go to church and give it to them. Like they friggin' need it. I mean, have you seen the Vatican? I mean, I know the Vatican's more of like the Catholics, but friggin' A, man. Church has got more money than God. Oh, I'm sorry. Church, God, that is God's money, right? That's God's money because God needs money. And, God's got to pay off the guys to keep you from going to hell. And it's like, God's up there going, I don't want to see you go to hell. It'd be terrible for you to go to hell. Maybe if you give me 10%, I can work it out that you don't go to hell. Anyways, that's why I go to church, and that's why I take my daughter to church, and, well, peace be with you. And peace be with you. Religion's got some decent traditions. It's good to be friendly. It's good to be social. But God doesn't need your money. The church, if you're paying for the entertainment, and it's not very entertaining, but if that's what you think you're paying for, that's one thing. But if you think God needs your money, man, you've been duped. Sorry. Anyways, I'm Tom, your friendly neighborhood atheist, and peace be with you, brother.